The Stoic shift. There's a moment when everything inside a man goes silent, not because he has nothing to say, but because he finally understands that speaking won't change anything. She grows distant. Replies become delayed. That warmth, once so certain, becomes cold, uncertain, calculated. And most men unravel. They chase what is slipping. They bargain with their dignity. They turn their hearts into an open wound, hoping she'll feel something when she sees the blood. But a Stoic man, he bleeds in silence. He doesn't chase. He lets the silence grow loud, because he knows something they don't. You don't win back respect by begging for it. You don't build desire by flooding her with attention. And you don't hold on to someone who walks away from what was sacred. Epictetus once warned, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. And what is freedom, if not the ability to walk away, without explanation, without performance, without a single word wasted on someone who misread your worth? This is the shift. The moment you stop giving unearned access to your soul. The moment you stop leaking energy into a void that doesn't echo back. The moment you no longer need to be heard because you've already heard yourself. The Stoic man disappears, not to punish, but to protect. And that silence, that sacred withdrawal, is louder than anger, colder than revenge, and more final than goodbye. She may feel it tomorrow. She may feel it next month. But one day, she will feel the absence, and it will haunt her more than any words ever could. 2. Why silence makes her feel more. There's a law in human behavior we pretend not to believe. What's always available is rarely valued. What's loud is often ignored. But what disappears in silence lives forever in the mind. You used to text first. You responded in seconds. You were always there, soft, dependable, ready to prove your loyalty at a moment's notice. But she didn't feel it. Not because you weren't sincere, but because you were always there. There was no edge, no mystery, no contrast. Desire requires space. Attention requires tension. She doesn't remember the man who wrote paragraph texts to explain himself. She remembers the one who walked away without needing to. When your energy pulls back, not out of malice but of mastery, it creates a vacuum, and the human heart cannot resist a vacuum. She feels the quiet. She rereads old messages. She posts things to get your attention. She watches your stories, but won't message you. She smiles at the crowd, but looks for your absence in the corner of the room. Because your silence is no longer passive. It is presence. It is a mirror. And in that mirror, she must confront what she took for granted. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts, and the woman who used to feel you chasing now feels your absence like a ghost wrapped around her conscience." You didn't get colder. You just got clearer. You stopped handing over your warmth like it was free. You stopped treating your attention like charity. She may not say it, but she feels it. And that's the kind of message that cannot be ignored. 3. The chase reversed. There comes a point when the man who once chased no longer moves. And in that stillness, everything begins to shift. She once had you wrapped in the rhythm of her replies. One word from her could send your heart racing. One emoji could alter your mood for the day. She controlled the tempo. Not because she was cruel, but because you handed her the conductor's baton and called it love, but no more. You've stopped dancing, and the silence, it disrupts the song. Now, she feels it. The man who used to seek her now seeks himself. The man who used to explain now says nothing. The man who used to orbit her moods has become his own gravitational force. And that shift, that refusal to chase, it wakes something ancient in her. The feminine responds to strength, to grounding, to the man who does not bend under emotional pressure. Because deep down, she doesn't want a pet. She wants a presence, a pillar. Chasing kills polarity, and polarity is the oxygen of attraction. Epictetus said, "No great thing is created suddenly, and you, your new stillness, is not sudden. It is forged in restraint. It is built in silence. It is the product of self-command." Now she wonders, why did he stop texting? Has he moved on? Was I wrong about his devotion? Questions you no longer answer. Because you don't need to. Your absence is the answer. And for the first time, she's the one left chasing. 4. Emotional self-control is magnetic, unbreakable Stoic energy. The rarest trait in a man today is composure. Not the fake kind, not the performance, but the real thing. Calm forged in fire, silence earned through storms. Most men crack under emotional pressure. They lash out when ignored. They panic when tested. They become loud when they feel small. But the Stoic man, he is still. He watches. He chooses his response, or none at all. Because he understands, to control your emotions is to control the outcome, and to master yourself is to remove the one thing she can use against you, your need for her approval. Seneca said, "No man is free who is a slave to his passions." And yet, how many men are enslaved? They can't eat, can't think, can't work, because she hasn't replied in 2 days. She pulls away, and they chase. She disrespects them, and they explain. She tests them, and they crumble, just to avoid discomfort. But the man who remains unbothered, that man becomes magnetic. Not because he doesn't feel, but because he doesn't flinch. Women feel safe around that kind of man, because he's not reactive. He's not trying to impress. He's not seeking validation in her attention. He's rooted in something deeper. He knows who he is, with or without her. And ironically, that's the moment she wants him the most. Not when he chases, not when he overgives, but when he stands still in the storm, silent, unmoved, and watching. Because women don't fall in love with the man who loses himself in emotion. They fall in love with the man who can feel without falling. 5. When you stop chasing, you start attracting, power reclaimed. There is a moment in every man's evolution when he discovers something ancient, something lost in the noise of modern love. When you stop chasing, you start attracting, not by playing games, not by hiding your heart, but by standing in your center, alone, grounded, radiant in your own stillness. When you no longer seek her, she begins to seek something she didn't realize was missing. Your presence, now wrapped in mystery, because everything she once took for granted now has weight. Your words, when rare, sound deeper. Your distance, when earned, feels colder. And your silence is no longer an absence. It's a statement. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." You're not punishing her. You're just no longer willing to beg for the bare minimum, no longer willing to set yourself on fire to keep her attention warm. Now, she wonders, why has he gone quiet? Is he speaking to someone else? Did I lose him? And the truth? You're not lost. You've simply returned to your path, to your discipline, to your silence. You've become what women can't control. And that is what draws them in. It's not the flowers. It's not the poetry. It's not the emotional declarations. It's your stillness, your detachment, your quiet understanding that her presence is welcomed, but not required. That's what makes you different. That's what makes her chase, because she's not used to a man who can disappear and be perfectly at peace in the silence. 6. Stoicism is emotional mastery, the unbreakable man, to feel deeply and remain unshaken. This is the mark of the Stoic man. Not the man who feels nothing, not the man who pretends to be above it all, but the man who feels everything and does not flinch. Because power isn't in dominance. It's in control, not of others, but of yourself. The world tells men to open up, to be vulnerable, to emote, to spill. But they forget to say this. Emotion without structure becomes weakness, and love without discipline turns into slavery. Stoicism doesn't kill your feelings. It teaches you to govern them, so no one else can. Epictetus wrote, "We are not disturbed by events, but by the view we take of them." She pulls away, and you don't chase. Not because you don't care, but because you care about yourself more than the illusion of connection. You no longer offer explanations to confusion. You no longer beg for someone to choose you. You no longer confuse chemistry with compatibility. You see clearly now, love is not proved through desperation. It is expressed through boundaries, and if a woman crosses yours, you do not explain. You do not retaliate. You exit. Calmly, quietly, completely. Because emotional mastery means you are no longer owned by reaction, no longer held hostage by her silence, no longer addicted to being chosen. You have already chosen yourself, and that is the kind of presence that changes the room. That is the kind of man she cannot replace. Not easily, not ever. 7. How she responds to silence, the shift in power. There's something unnerving about a man who simply disappears. Not with noise, not with revenge, but with quiet, with peace. At first, she might not react. She might think it's temporary. She might assume you'll circle back like most do. But day by day, that stillness grows heavier. Not on your shoulders, on hers. Because silence is a mirror. And the longer she stares into it, the more she begins to see herself. She replays moments in her mind, scrolls back through your messages, wonders what happened, why the warmth is gone, why the door didn't slam. It just vanished. And the most haunting part? You didn't say a word. You didn't fight. You didn't explain. You simply removed your presence dash. And that presence, now absent, becomes louder than anything you could have said. That's the difference between noise and power. Weak men fight for closure. Stoic men create space and let reality speak for itself. Epictetus wrote, "Circumstances don't make the man, they only reveal him to himself." And now, your silence reveals her. If she's mature, she'll reflect. If she's superficial, she'll deflect. But either way, the message lands. You are not a man who clings. You are not a man who explains worth. You are not a man who fears walking away. Because this is who you've become. A man who doesn't need to be chosen to know his value. A man who doesn't chase women. He attracts them. Not with effort, but with energy. And when she feels that absence in her bones, it's already too late. She chased attention from a man who gave her silence. Now she sits in it, alone and wondering. 8. The Stoic rule. She can't resist. Final ascension. There's a rule that lives deep within the mind of a Stoic man. It isn't written in books. It's carved into his being. Withdraw your energy from where it is not honored and redirect it toward your purpose. This is not bitterness. This is clarity. This is the moment you stop handing your light to those who live in shadows. The moment you stop offering yourself to those who do not recognize the value of presence. You've tried. You've shown up. You've led with heart, with truth, with vulnerability. But now you lead with discipline. Now you let her feel the silence she created. Now you let her chase what she once ignored. Because your time is no longer free. Your love is no longer casual. Your presence is no longer handed out like mercy. And when she realizes what she lost, she may reach, she may return, she may offer what once felt impossible. But you're not waiting, you're not hoping, you're not circling the drain of what if. You're building, becoming, ascending. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." You are becoming that man. Not out of spite, but out of strength. Not to make her regret, but to make yourself whole. And here's the irony she never saw coming. She'll chase you, not because you ignored her, but because you finally remembered who you are. And by the time she does, you won't be behind her. You won't be beside her. You'll be ahead, walking forward, in silence, in purpose, in peace.